This is Lily's classroom. But so is this. And so is this.
I've been to many different schools and most of them haven't really worked for me. The only ones that have really worked was homeschooling. I didn't like traditional schooling mainly because I guess you're kind of just put on the spot and you're expected to do all these things, and you know, sometimes it's hard for people. I guess you can tell when school isn't the right place for you.
Lily is in Year 8. She's one of almost 45,000 students across Australia who are homeschooled. And that's a number that keeps going up.
In the last 5 years, the number of children being homeschooled in Australia has more than doubled. So we've now got more than 45,000 kids across Australia who are registered homeschoolers. And in fact, we know that there are even more than that because not all families end up registering for their homeschooling, though they are all supposed to.
Janelle Barnes is the president of the Home Education Association. She says families are turning to homeschooling for a couple of main reasons.
One that seems to be the fastest growing is kids with disabilities and neurodivergent kids who find that their needs just struggle to be met within the traditional schooling systems. Often those kids just struggle within a classroom environment.
There was also a big uptick during COVID, when a lot of schools turned to online learning. Miss Barnes says during that time period, a lot of parents became a lot more connected to their kids' education.
So I started homeschooling during COVID and decided that it was just working so well for my family that we kept doing it after COVID because it was such a good opportunity.
Experts also say that homeschooling can be beneficial for students with specific learning needs.
When you're one child in a class of 30 kids, then your teacher can only give you 1/30th of their time a lot of the time. In my particular case, my daughter has dyslexia. The one-on-one help that I could give her meant that she was able to really come on with her reading and writing so much more quickly via homeschooling than she could at school.
There was a lot of bullying going on at a couple past schools, and also the workload. I struggled a lot learning and with a lot of assignments and things I had to do with a very short amount of time to finish it. And I guess school, it was just never really a right place for me because it was more just like you'll catch up or you know, you'll get there, but I never really got there. I kind of just stayed at the same spot I was always in.
It can be hard to get good data on whether homeschooling actually helps or hinders you academically. While state and territory governments require parents to register their kids for homeschooling, some people don't, which can make it hard to track. Plus, there are lots of different approaches to homeschooling that aren't necessarily easy to compare. One 2013 review of a bunch of US studies found that overall, homeschooled kids perform the same or better on standardised test scores. And a 2014 study in New South Wales and a 2016 study in Victoria found homeschooled kids scored significantly higher than average in nearly every NAPLAN test. But only about 10% of students who were homeschooled actually took the NAPLAN test in the first place. Another study of about 300 homeschooled Australians found that a larger proportion of homeschooled students earn a bachelor's degree or higher when compared to the general population. After moving around to a bunch of different schools, Lily went back to homeschooling in October last year.
I wake up and I'm not absolutely dreading going to school, and I'm not dawdling in the morning, and I'm not stressed anymore. I reckon a lot of my subjects that I did in school have improved by a lot.
While Lily says homeschooling works for her, it's difficult to keep track of everyone nationwide. Every state and territory in Australia has different rules for how they administer homeschooling. In Queensland, parents write a yearly report about the school year. In New South Wales, you have to create a plan before you start. In WA, a government moderator may come to your house and they'll write a report. In Victoria, you only need to write a report if you're part of the 10% of people who are randomly selected. And in SA, you have to enrol in a school and then you're exempt from attending. All of these rules are also reliant on parents registering their kids to be homeschooled. And critics say without national oversight, some kids might be falling through the cracks.
So it's quite challenging because education is a state-based and managed issue. And so as a national organisation, that can be a challenge for us when it comes to supporting families in all of the different areas. I think the biggest misconception that most parents come across when they first start homeschooling is, oh, what about socialisation? Some people seem to think homeschooling is about staying at home and the kids being only with their parents and not getting out to do things. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. Different community groups and sporting clubs offer homeschool programs so that they have classes, art classes, sports classes happening during the day while other kids are at school. And that can be really beneficial for kids who get overstimulated by large groups.
Lily says the social side of homeschooling was something that initially kind of scared her.
I was not very keen on homeschooling when I was at school because I thought that I'd lose all of my friends, but I still have really close friends. 3 days out of 5, I'd be out somewhere, like I'd be at the beach, I'd go for a surf, I'd be down at the city. I'd just kind of be all over the place because I guess being outdoors and in social areas, it's also learning in many other ways. Like being in the world, it's not just about doing math or literature, it's also being out and learning life skills. I find that I get more confident and I can talk to people and I'm not afraid to be out in public as much as I was.
Professor Anna Sullivan is the Director of the Research Centre in Educational Social Inclusion at the University of South Australia. She says homeschooling isn't for everyone.
It's hard to come out of it again. So once a family commits to homeschooling, sometimes it can be tricky to transition children back into the mainstream. If you think about the purposes of education, there's obviously learning content, but there are bigger purposes of education, and that is about contributing to society. And so education of students from a young age on how to collaborate with people, how to resolve conflicts, how to, resolve tensions, differences of ideas is really, really important.
Professor Sullivan says homeschooling may not necessarily fix issues that a student may be having.
I think that many people who are being homeschooled, there's usually another underlying issue of some sort. Now, it could be a commitment to a particular way of doing things, an ideological commitment, but often it could be just because their kid isn't fitting in. And if they're not fitting in, what's going on there and what does that school need to support that child? And those conversations should be had.
So some kids just do struggle to separate, and some families just struggle to separate family time from learning time. So that can be difficult from time to time for families in that when they're homeschooling, they sometimes end up in conflict over the schooling, and that overflows into the family.
Traditional school is better for some people, especially on the social side, but a lot of people are academic and they do like the harder work and they do like all the assignments. I mean, not all schools load you with assignments, but I guess I can see how some people do like school and there are people who do like school.
Lily isn't sure if she'll be homeschooled throughout her academic life. But for now, she's happy learning about things that she's passionate about.
I reckon it's been a really great part of my life. Ever since I was little, I've had a very deep passion for the ocean, and I hope to one day be a marine biologist and study oceanography.
Well, I feel really connected to the ocean, and I just like having a bit of fun. It's just kind of about getting out and just doing what you love. Yeah.